I didn't even introduce myself to you gentlemen. My name is John Shaft. Freeze.
As a teenager, this was one of my favorite movies.
Right on.
Shaft.
John Shaft.
The story of a black private detective who was battling the Italian mob.
What you trying to lay on me, huh?
I was thinking about Shaft the other day because we're now investigating dozens of Houston companies who, quite frankly, are getting the shaft too, while you pay for it.
I want to welcome everybody to coming to HCD's brand new adult education facility.
It was July of last year, and they were celebrating over at the Harris County Department of Education.
We're on a mission to recreate what alternative education looks like, not only in Houston, Texas, but the entire country.
This elected county education board usually operates under the radar of public scrutiny, but it spends a ton of your tax money. Their budget last year, $173 million, from Head Start programs for kids to alternative education for adults. And it's the grown-ups that were going to be taught here in this brand new building on Irvington Boulevard.
We wanted to create a space that was really inviting to the students.
Just say what you gotta say, big, huh?
But more than a year after the building was opened, the Harris County Department of Education hadn't bothered to finish paying the construction companies who built it. And it was no small change.
It's infuriating to be getting screwed by this entity that we did this great job for.
Days after we began asking for records of the legal fees that were being racked up while we cheated this construction company, HCDE suddenly paid the contract retainage, $746,000.
I have no other explanation why after 14 months, all of a sudden, a few weeks after you submitted that, we got released.
We'll move it to a vote. All in favor? Passes unanimously.
But the story doesn't end there. 3 years after Houston-based Paradigm Construction was first awarded the contract to build the education center, their legal battle with HCDE over the monies they say are still owed is far from over. And we've discovered they're not the only construction company complaining that the county education department is teaching its students a bad lesson, a lesson on how to cheat someone.
That's it in a nutshell, man. Just wicked people. Just evil people.
Paradigm had bid and won the contract with the HCDE back in September of 2021. Months later, the company was told it could demolish what was there and get the land ready for building. But it couldn't start actual construction yet because of a play apparently choreographed by the government lawyers, who would then benefit from this plan in legal fees. In fact, Paradigm did not get the go-ahead to build the education center until 7 months after they had bid the project. The architectural drawings were incomplete. HCDE repeatedly failed to get the necessary permit for months. The Harris County education folks even sued their own architect because of this very delay. It cost Paradigm and dozens of its subcontractors a ton of money.
7 months during COVID is an eternity.
Finding out one sector in particular is seeing the highest price hike in 50 years, construction costs.
It was all over the news. Construction prices were rising at an unprecedented rate in the wake of the COVID pandemic.
I've been in construction for 25 years. It's unlike anything I've ever witnessed.
Lumber and plywood would rise 63% in a matter of months. Copper up 68%. Aluminum 53%. Steel mill products up a whopping 124%.
Prices were going up amounts that we had not seen in ages. And it was happening daily.
Look at the RFP from the Department of Education. It only asked for prices to be locked in for 60 days. But HCDE's attorneys advised them to go ahead and enter into the contract and then try to get the construction companies to eat the increase. Yet HCDE has refused to pay for the increased cost of materials. Dozens of Houston subcontractors have been left holding the bag. Paradigm is now suing HCDE for breach of contract, and the cost of the county shaft may add up to $2.4 million.
Too much sugar this morning, Cole.
You're talking about a lot of subcontractors, small businesses that are owed this money.
Over at MS Glass in Jersey Village, Raj Karimi doesn't mince words.
If it was up to me, I'd go back and take all my glass and windows out of the building so I can get paid. Because the work is done, I should be paid for my work.
His glass glazing company is minority owned, feeds 65 families, but like dozens of other companies, money for their work on the Adult Education Center is still tied up in the Paradigm lawsuit.
To work for the government and not get paid, that's pretty messed up. And who do you work for? I mean, you're screwing the little guy.
I obviously don't know anything about construction.
Fair enough.
You wouldn't expect a school district official to really understand construction, but when multiple construction companies are claiming you shafted them, something is very wrong.
Paradigm's not the only general contractor who's made a claim against HCDE for additional costs as a result of delays in issuing notices to proceed, right?
Correct.
In the 23-24 school year, High Point's middle school program will be in a new state-of-the-art building.
That $9 million state-of-the-art campus for troubled teens was built for taxpayers by construction company C.A. Walker. They also faced long delays before they could begin construction because of, guess what, a lack of permits.
Adding $300,000 to their $7 million contract.
Yes.
What do I look like? Some kind of klutz?
Don't ask and I won't tell you.
The company threatened to walk off the job if they didn't get paid more. They got their money, but Paradigm and Construction Limited and all their subcontractors stayed on the job despite the escalating cost of materials. You know what they got paid for their trouble? Zero.
So I was willing to concede and give money. It's just I felt like I was being extorted. Your client is extremely greedy.
Mr.
To the point
Colbert.
of extortion.
Mr. Colbert, if a contractor is telling you, here's my price increases, and he's backing it up with the bids from his subcontractors, there's no extortion there, is there?
I disagree with that. How do we know the subcontractors aren't trying to extort your client?
It's frustrating. There's no greed in this whatsoever. We provided very detailed backup documentation from every single sub related to this claim.
And have you done anything to interpret any of the subcontract bids that were provided with this
Zero.
claim? So you agreed a significant chunk of this claim was reasonable, didn't you?
I agreed if the contract allowed for monetary damages, then it would be reasonable, yes. You can learn a lot in 5 years.
So you believe 5 years is sufficient to make you an expert?
Yes.
Despite the fact that this was the first project you had ever been on with LAN?
Yes.
He works for LAN, the company hired to manage these school district projects. Financial records showed that company has already been paid $1.1 million in the last 3 years. But even though the buildings are all done, the meter is still running for taxpayers as LAN tries to help them skip out from paying the tab for all these construction delays.
Now you agree that Paradigm was not responsible for the permitting delays, right?
Correct.
If the permit is not available for Paradigm to begin construction as contemplated under the contract, that would interfere with Paradigm's ability to perform its work with it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they just stabbed us in the back at every turn.
Oh wait, there's yet another contractor who claims they were cheated by the education folks. And again, it was the failure of HCDE to get the required building permits to start construction. This time the delay was 4 months. Construction Limited says HCDE has an outstanding balance with them of $995,000 for the work they already did.
It would be a little less clear when you have 3 different firms who had the same exact case brought by different attorneys for the same basis. It's not just us that they're trying to do this to.
HCDE lawyers have temporarily stalled the lawsuits by filing an appeal, attempting to hide behind governmental immunity, delaying the possible payment for so many companies who say Texas law is clearly on their side.
We just got bad lawyers that are telling them to do something that they can't win, and it's going to cost a fortune.
This is going to end up getting paid. We are entitled to the money. And instead of just getting it resolved, this drags out for over a year. It just makes no sense.
But the delays do create a bigger payday for the lawyers. Spalding, Nichols, Lamp, and Langlois fought our request to see their invoices, even though you pay them all. HCDE would not tell us how much you, were actually spending on these legal fights with multiple angry construction companies, even though it's your damn money.
How much of my money and everybody else's money have you paid a particular vendor? That's not confidential under law.
That's a valid point.
Within your organization, are you the person that has the ultimate authority to pay claims or settle disputes?
Yes,
And is your authority subject to approval by a board of trustees?
depending.
We've looked at the HCD organizational chart. Above Mr. Colbert is an elected board of trustees. And right above them, the big boss, you, the public. So let me ask you, do we really want to spend hundreds of thousands of more dollars on lawyers and consultants instead of just paying what we owe?
Would you ever work another public school construction project again after this?
I guess if they put a gun to my grandchild's head and said, do it or we're going to kill your family. But besides that, no.
Damn, those were some tough white boys.